Yo, 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 check. Breaking news. Jon Jones just retired. So, we're going to break it down. Also, UFC buko just happened. Khalil Roundtree versus Jamal Hill. Let me know how I sound. How the audio is. So, here we go. Here's Dana White at the press conference of UFC buko confirming that Jones just retired.
Jon Jones called us last night and retired. Jon Jones is officially retired. Jon Jones called us last night and retired. Jon Jones is officially retired. Tom Aspinall is the heavyweight champion of the UFC. Jon Jones called us last night and retired. Jon Jones is officially retired. Tom Aspinall is the heavyweight champion of the UFC.
So he retired. You know, everybody's complaining, talking about Strip Jones, this and that. I have a theory about all this. I think he's not. Well, we've seen so many fighters come back. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's one thing that really annoys me is when fighters retire and they come back. In my opinion, if you're retired, then retire. You know what I'm saying? We've seen a million fighters retire and come back. I think Jones is basically playing chess. If he truly retired, then that's a smart move for him, realistically. He's been fighting forever. He's been champion for like 15 years. He might as well retire. If Tom Aspinall can actually beat him, then I think it's a good move. I think it's a smart move for him to retire at this stage of the game. Like, he's done everything. Most fighters don't come out of this game in a good way. So that's a smart move. And if Aspinall is truly better than him, or if it's truly just too much of a dangerous fight, then he should retire. But I think he's just waiting for Tom Aspinall to fight Surreal, and he's going to wait and see how that fight plays out. He needs more information to fight Tom Aspinall, because, you know, Jones is a dude who studies the fighters that he fights extensively, and there's just really not that much information on Tom Aspinall. As far as his legacy goes, as far as Jon Jones' legacy goes, that's an interesting question. I think Jones' legacy will be seen as, some people will see him as the best fighter of all time. Some people will see him as a steroid cheat. You know, I don't think he actually is retired. I think it's more so of a, you know, he just needs to relinquish the belt. He's not going to fight. He's not going to fight Tom unless he has more information. Unless Francis comes in the mix, he's not going to come back. It is interesting to me that apparently the UFC offered him 30 mil or some crazy amount of money, and he said, nah, I'm good on the money. But if Tom is better than him, or if he feels too much of a dangerous fight, or he feels his body's just too banged up, then that's a smart move. Because his legacy as the best fighter ever, and you know, he has a huge ego as well. He's not going to allow somebody who he thinks is undeserving to be able to be the guy who beat Jon Jones. So that makes sense to me. I'm not saying I agree with it, but also we're going to look over his whole career. One thing I hate about MMA fans is you can sacrifice your whole. Jon Jones has been champion since he's been, 23? So he sacrificed essentially his whole adult life chasing this dream of becoming a great fighter. Regardless of if you agree with him or not, regardless of if you think he is a steroid cheat, or if you think he's a dirty fighter, or you think he's a shitty person or not, you gotta admit he did do and have great moments and exciting moments and made MMA fun. Because if Jon Jones was just a goody two-shoes, you know, straight edge dude who didn't do a lot of crazy shit, no one would care. He gave us a lot of moments, you know, a lot of exciting moments as fans. The DC fights, the hey pussy, are you still there moment. He made the sport fun. And I think he will be missed. A lot of people hate on him and shit like that, but I think he will be missed when it's said and done. You know, some people are always going to say, oh, he's scared of Tom. But the reality of the situation is, if Tom goes and fights Surreal and he loses, then all that shit goes away. King Colorado, what a legend. You can unretire. Yeah, exactly. He's going to unretire, more likely than not. Like so many fighters say they're retired and then come back. George St. Pierre, Amanda Nunes. The list goes on and on and on. That's one thing that pisses me off is if you're retired, then you're retired. You know what I'm saying? Like, for real. But you know, in MMA, like, retirement doesn't mean anything. Jon Jones is going to wait in the wings like how George St. Pierre did. He's going to wait, see whoever becomes champion, find a perfect tailor-made fight for him, and then come in, whoop the dude's ass, get his money, and leave. Guaranteed that's what he's going to do. But regardless of whatever he did, you have to admit he had an incredible career and he had an amazing career. So now we're going to get into, later on we're going to get into his career. I'm going to kind of go through his fights because we got to give him his flowers. He did give us some damn good, exciting times in the fight game. But we're going to get into what happened with Jamal Hill. Jamal Hill, his fall off has been very interesting. And there's a lot of lessons that we all can learn from it, even if you're not a fighter.
I want to be a champion, not, you know, whatever's next. I know that there's things that, you know, there's things that need to be done. But for me, if I had to fight Magomed Ankalaev next, I would do it. If I have to fight somebody in between that, I'll do it. But whatever gets me closer to getting that belt again. I want to be a champion. So not, you know, whatever's next. I know that there's things that, you know, there's things that need to be done. But for me, if I had to fight Magomed Ankalaev next, I would do it. If I have to fight somebody in between that, I'll do it. But whatever gets me closer to getting that belt again.
Khalil Roundtree, the main thing, Jamal Hill is arrogant. Exactly. The main thing with Khalil Roundtree that I noticed going into the fight, and some of you guys seen the videos that I made before the fight, and I said, Jamal Hill, he's really underestimating Khalil Roundtree. He's really being kind of arrogant. You know what I'm saying? And that was his downfall, guaranteed. Before the fight, Jamal Hill is like, Khalil's a weirdo, blah, blah, blah. Ace, weirdo dudes sometimes are the best fighters. Nerd dudes are sometimes the best fighter because they're sick of being fucked with. Khalil Roundtree was a dude who was, he was like 300-something pounds at one point. He was a nerdy dude. He probably was getting no chicks. He probably was getting bullied, etc., etc. And bro came back, got himself in crazy shape, and became a contender fighter. You know, those types of dudes are dudes that are dangerous. Those types of dudes are dudes you got to watch out for. So Jamal Hill, even with the pre-fight press conferences and the media, he's just super arrogant, like WHMMA said. And he hasn't really evolved his game. And we've seen this specific thing happen to so many fighters, so many championship level fighters.
The judges score the contest 49-46, 50-45, and 50-45 for the winner by unanimous decision, Khalil.
So now I believe that's what, 3 fights in a row for Jamal. Jamal Hill is going to continue to lose unless he really changes his game completely or he really humbles himself. And that's the thing about the fight game. You know, when you take a loss in the fight game, it's very soul crushing and you have to really find your soul. It's a brutal experience. And that's what Jamal Hill has to go through. You notice Jamal Hill's body has changed throughout the years. That's normal. As you get older, your body's going to change. But the biggest thing I can see with Jamal Hill, Khalil Roundtree and Jamal are around the same age. Khalil is 6-packed up. At one point, he was 300-something pounds. You know, he's in great shape. Jamal Hill, he has a little bit of fat there. I don't know what's going on with his body. There must be something going on. Typically, if your body changes like that, you either have an injury that's not allowing you to train the same way as you did in the past, so your body doesn't look the same, or maybe his eating habits. I don't know, but that's a tailor-made thing that you can see. You guys seen Cody Garbrandt. Cody Garbrandt's body looked different his last fight. And I said, like that is a big indication. Like, hey, he's either not training the same, or he has some sort of injury or something like that. And we've seen that. You know, he didn't perform the same. He didn't look the same. You know, so Jamal Hill, the next thing that they're going to do for him probably is give him Dominic Reyes. And he's going to fight Dominic Reyes. That's a very hard fight. That's an extremely hard fight, because Reyes is a dude who went through those losses and came back. And someone who goes through those losses, especially Dominic Reyes' losing streak, getting knocked out, the way bro got knocked out multiple times in a row. Bro, let's pull up Dominic Reyes versus Yuri Prochazka real quick. Let's pull that up. Dominic Reyes got knocked out by
firing back. Toughness shown on each side.
That elbow, brutal, nasty. For some people,
Reyes still firing back. Toughness shown on each side.
Like Chuck Liddell. When Chuck Liddell got knocked out by Rashad Evans brutally, bro, that destroyed Chuck Liddell's chin, and I don't think he ever won a fight after that. And he got knocked out time and time and time again after that. No shade to Chuck. We love Chuck, but that's a fact. And Reyes, he came back. He got knocked out again. And again. And then he came back, and now he's on a win streak. And that's the fight they're going to give Jamal Hill. More likely than not. That's the only fight that really makes sense, would be Reyes versus Hill. And if he fights Hill, that's a fight where they're like, hey, we're going to get you out of here. If you lose that fight, they might give him one more fight. And if he loses to Reyes, chances are he's getting knocked out by Reyes, just because of the way Reyes fights. And right now, that's a horrible matchup for Hill. Yeah, man, I don't. You know, Hill's the moment he's in right now is a brutal moment. It's an absolutely brutal moment. Khalil, on the other hand, Khalil is in a space where you can just tell when you hear both of them talk. Khalil's in a space where he can become champion, and he believes that he can become champion. And he's humble about it. He's not going to underestimate anybody. So he's going to be a tough guy to beat. Let's look at some of the clips from the fight. Let's look at some of the clips from this fight. Look at that.
Counter left from
timing.
Sits downhill.
Jamal Hill, he has not changed his fight style. He has not changed his fight game at all.
Counter left from Roundtree. Sits downhill.
Boxing style. And people, quite frankly, have figured him out. You know, and it's sad because I don't think he's going to be able, because he has injuries, he probably can't throw kicks. But if you have injuries and you can't throw kicks, then you better be throwing those knees. Like, you got to do something. You got to come in with some elbows. You got to switch it up. But I'm just some dude. I'm just some fighter. You know what I'm saying? I'm not a UFC champion. I haven't become a UFC champion. So what the fuck do I know? But I do know fighters who don't evolve their game, especially when they're a champion or they're a popular fighter and everybody's studying you and everybody wants what you have, they're going to figure you out at some point unless you evolve your game. The biggest thing Jamal Hill can do today to save his career is go to wrestling practice and add in some shots. He's an athlete. He's a super athlete. He needs to add these things in. Otherwise, it's going to be a tough time for him. If he goes in there and he tries to fight Reyes the way he fought Khalil, it's going to be a quick night. It's going to be a bad night. You know, he can knock Reyes out. Don't get me wrong. He can knock Reyes out. But at this stage, the way Reyes is looking and the mindset Reyes is going to be in after those losses he took and coming back, and knowing that he a lot of people believe he beat Jon Jones, the greatest fighter. It's going to be a tough fight for Jamal. But that's the next fight to make. Hill versus Reyes. You know, the UFC likes to kill off their fighters, so that's the fight to make. Hill versus Reyes. Controversial says Jones ducked. I wouldn't say he ducked. I disagree with that. I think he's just being smart. Realistically, Jones has all the cards, right? He has all the money. He's had an incredible career. He has a great legacy. One of the best legacies in the sport, regardless of the steroids, regardless of everything else. So, bro, he can sit back. He's 38 years old. He can sit back, watch Surreal and Tom Aspinall fight, sit back in the shadows and just train his balls off. Watch Tom fight again. Watch Tom fight a few times and see if Tom's able to maintain the belt. And when the time is right, he's going to come back and try to take that belt. Or if let's say Surreal Gone gets the belt, Jones is going to come back and try to whoop Surreal Gone's ass and then dip out again. Or a lot of things are happening in the background. Francis comes back into the mix, which there's a very good chance that Francis comes back into the mix. Because Francis comes back in the mix, Jones comes back in the mix. Super fight. But let's see some of the post fight from this UFC event, this UFC buko event. The biggest thing is Jon Jones retiring, Khalil Roundtree winning the fight. Everybody kind of saw it. You know, Fiziev winning his fight, unanimous decision. You know, another thing is, and when we talk about Tom Aspinall, you know, you see some of these fighters winning by unanimous decision, right? And for me, that's how you tell how good a fighter is. Decisions aren't super sexy, but you can really break down a fighter and see like, okay, this dude is a pretty good fighter. Phil says, I enjoyed that card, minus the main event. Yeah, the main event was boring, but sometimes sometimes it's just how you gotta go. You know, for Khalil, he's trying to win that fight. You know, sometimes the only way Jamal wins that fight is if he gets in some crazy ass brawl with Khalil and then drops him. Because skill for skill, he's not better than Khalil. But I thought that was interesting how Khalil came out with the hands out, you know, with the hands down, you know. But Jamal Hill, bro, right now he's going to be depressed as fuck. To be at the top of the sport at one point, to have that light heavyweight belt, which is one of the most coveted belts in the whole sport. Think about it. The superstars of the sport, Chuck Liddell, right? Chuck Liddell is a dude who brought the sport to another level. Jon Jones, obviously. Whoever has that 205 belt, Alex Pereira, whoever has that 205 belt, especially if they're knockouters, is historically, it's like one of the most important belts, if not the most important belt in the UFC. Every once in a while, you get a guy like Conor McGregor, or George St. Pierre, but for the most part, the 205-pound weight class is like the most important champion, like typically. And I might be wrong, but you guys can let me know what you think about that. But we think about superstars of the sport. To me, comes to mind Chuck Liddell, Tito Ortiz, Conor McGregor, George St. Pierre, Jon Jones. You know, you don't have to be loved to be a superstar. A lot of people don't like Jon Jones, but there's what it is. What do you guys think of Jon Jones's legacy? I'm going to pull up some of his highlights, and we're going to kind of just go through his career and kind of just enjoy some of the moments from his career, you know, because he had some damn good fights, you know, and I like, he's my favorite fighter to watch. Did he retire, or are you clickbaiting us? No, he retired. Dana White just announced. This is breaking news. Hold on, for the people who are new in the chat, you know, because we got ground bacon shit over here, you know, piping hot, fresh off the fights. Here it is right here from the horse's mouth himself.
Jones is officially retired.
We don't do clickbait over here.
Jon Jones called us last night and retired. Jon Jones is officially retired. Tom Aspinall is the heavyweight champion of the UFC. Jon Jones called us last night and retired.
Hold on, I got Dana on the line. What's up, Dana? What's going on? So what's going on with the Jon Jones fight, Dana?
Jon Jones called us last night and retired. Jon Jones is officially retired. Tom Aspinall is the heavyweight champion of the UFC.
But then again, this isn't a real retirement. We got PG in the house. We got Pickle Gamer. My guy, he likes to party and run from accidents. That's a fact. That's a whole fact. But we have to admit the best athletes are like this. Michael Jordan is the best basketball player. But Michael Jordan isn't the best guy. Let's be honest. He's not the best guy. If you ran into Michael Jordan outside, he would be a dick. He would be an absolute dick, and you would probably hate him. He's not a nice guy at all, right? But he has a lot of toxic traits. And when it comes to being a fighter, you do actually have that, like, well, everybody's different. Some fighters need to have toxicity to be their best. It actually is true. Dang, that's funny. So much Dana. Dang, Manny, has Dana and Speed Dial? Yeah, of course, I got Dana on Speed Dial, He's my guy. Me and Dana are like this. So, matter of fact, I'm going to show you what I mean by, like, sometimes, like, for example, listen, like, in my fight career, he's a good fighter. He's skilled for sure, though. In my fight career, right, there's been times, like, when I was younger, and I was super pissed off. Like, you guys know what it's like to be, like, 18, 19, 21, and it's like a super shitty time. You don't have money. You're trying to figure it out. I didn't have a ton of support. I moved to California on my own, and I used that as fuel. And it made me get really good training and really good wins because I'm like, oh, yeah, people don't support me. People don't fuck with me. I'm out here doing it on my own. Like, yeah, fuck yeah. I'm gonna go run 10 miles. I'm pissed off. I'm gonna go run 10 miles. I'm gonna whoop someone's ass. So that anger made me a better fighter. You know what I'm saying? And then subsequently, the moment where I started making more money and chilling, I did lose some fights. You know what I'm saying? So, and I was less pissed off. I did lose some fights. So Jon Jones being toxic and not being a good guy, crashing into people, running from accidents, that's kind of what we get when we want good fighters. We want great fighters. They're not going to be great people. Very few of them are going to be great people. Like George. And watch this. A lot of people talk about Ronda Rousey and they don't like Ronda Rousey and she's a bitch and blah, blah, blah. And that's really what you get. As a matter of fact, I'm going to pull up her book so we can get into her mindset. But let's pull up some Jon Jones clips. Let's go Jon Jones versus Gustafsson. Because for me, I love that fight. That's one of my favorite fights, and that's a fight that's in the Hall of Fame. But Jon Jones, let's see. Here we go.
Strike away all the
Jon
time.
Jones versus Glover.
But Jon has been able to
Jon
avoid
Jones
all the
fought dirty
strikes.
multiple times.
And Jon rips to the body.
Jon Jones whipping Glover's ass with the elbow.
This is the part.
Nobody ever used elbows like this. Straight range. So he had some incredible moments in his career. Jones breaking great.
Those three strikes that landed.
Thiago Santos, both of his leads.
Those three strikes that landed.
Right?
Those three strikes that landed.
I mean, we can go through the list. Jones versus Gustafsson, the first fight. I know
Alex
PG
is all the stuff that I
remembers
brought
this
into every fight coming in,
fight. I know PG remembers this fight.
trying to win world titles. It's the same thing.
Basically, the white Jon Jones.
Cardio, footwork, speed, athleticism.
He has done a lot for the sport, and he has been an exciting fighter. You know what? Jamal Hill is very similar to Gustafsson in the sense that Gustafsson was an incredible fighter, right? And if you notice, at some point, his body kind of changed. And I don't believe it's because he's not training as hard. I think he had some type of injury. Some type of injury that made it hard for him to train the same. And that's why he had to go to the heavyweight. He's exciting to watch regardless of people feel about him. Exactly. And that's really what, do we really want, let's be honest here, do we really want a bunch of like church boy, good boy fighters? Because the two kind of don't go together. Some people can do it. Some people can be genuinely good people and be good fighters. But like, I remember like when I first moved to California, I started meeting a lot of guys that I was like a fan of, and I'm like, yo, this guy's a dickhead, you know? This guy's an absolute dick. But, or he's fucking weird or whatever. And I'm like, you know what? This is the fight game. This is what it is. Not every fighter is going to be a good guy. Ooh, Jon's retirement getting a lot of attention right now. Yeah, this is breaking news. This is like groundbreaking news, especially because everybody's like, oh, he's ducking Aspinall, you know? But now let's see what Aspinall could do. But let me show you what I mean by championship fighters, and you need to have a little bit of darkness to you. That's why, but there's a balance, you know what I'm saying? There is a balance. So watch this. Where the fuck is it? 1 second, guys. Let me see if I can find it. Here we go. So this book right here, Ronda Rousey, right? Ronda Rousey, a lot of people are like, she's a bitch, blah, blah, blah. You know, when she fought Holly Holm, like she's just super toxic. So she kind of lost a lot of her fans at one point. You know, this right here.
Right now, Cormier not able to take it down. And cuts the chin with a quick takedown. Crazy.
Here right now. But he just, at some point, got injured or whatever.
Down the right side of
Justin versus
down the
Jones.
right side of Jon Jones.
Like, so it's a really tough fight. Seemed like the hardest fight in his whole career. He had incredible moments. You know, right here, this is the second time they fought. He came in. This is ground and pound. This ground and pound is absolutely brutal. And yes, he was on feet for that fight. He said that he was on picogram. And he had picogram in his system. And this ground and pound was absolutely fucking vicious.
This is a
brutal
bad
ground and
position
pound.
for Alex. He's going to scramble out of here.
Look at that ground and pound. Crazy. Crazy. Now I'm gonna show you what I mean. Oh, here we go. I love this clip as well. So I'm gonna let this fight competition. We're talking about psychology. That's what we're talking about, and that's why for someone like Jon Jones, yeah, he might not be a great guy. You know what I'm saying? Hit that like button. Hey, PG, appreciate you. So now let me go back and read the beginning of this paragraph, this very powerful paragraph. I was ashamed that I had been so ready to accept losing, to accept as a fact that someone else was simply better than me. The remorse lasted only a second before it was replaced with a more intense emotion. What I felt then was a deep desire to win, a motivation to show everyone on the planet that no one should ever doubt my ability to win again. From that moment on, I wanted to win every time I stepped onto the mat. I expected to win, and I never accepted losing again. And that's why you see Ronda Rousey, when she loses, she goes absolutely apeshit. And people are like, hey, why is she such a bitch? Why is she not just a normal person? Because if you're trying to compete at a high level, you have to be a little fucked in the head, especially with fighting. And that's why you see Michael Jordan being a weirdo and shit. You know, Michael Jordan's a weirdo. Let's be honest. He's not like a good guy, right? But that's the sacrifice you make to be great at your sport. And not everybody, some people can be normal and be good at their sport. Typically, if that's the case, you need to have like a wife and kids, and you have a really strong support system. Like Mighty Mouse. Mighty Mouse doesn't really have these tendencies, you know? But Michael Jordan hates rappers. Hates rappers. Yeah, I mean, I hate rappers too. Most of these rappers are trash. Like, let's talk about these rappers nowadays. Most of them are absolute trash. They can't rap for shit. They don't even know how to rap. They just use auto-tune. Like, you know, like back in the day, PG, you know, like, because you have great music taste. Like, the rappers nowadays are trash. There's very few who are actually good. But this book right here, I love this book, especially as someone who's a competitor. Like, and let's get into that as well. So for Jones, he doesn't have, the only emotion that he would have towards Aspinall right now, this moment, would be like, okay, Aspinall won the fight, the next fight. He's getting all this clout. He's getting all this. I don't like that. I think I can beat him. He's an easy fighter to beat. I'm going to come back. And all that emotion that you use You use that in your fight camp, and it fuels you and makes you a better fighter. Like animes. I don't know if you guys ever watched Dragon Ball Z, but in Dragon Ball Z, for example, we got Vegeta, right? Vegeta was sick and tired of Goku whooping his ass. So he's like, nah, I'm gonna whoop Kakarot's ass. I need to go train. And then he's in the mountains training his balls off. Just going apeshit, just out of his mind, training his fucking balls off. That's how you need to be when you're fighting. So sometimes a lot of people talk about fighters and they're like, yeah, DBZ goated, I fuck with Vegeta. Exactly. And that's how it is in real life. Sometimes you really need to get the motivation you need to win. You need to just be in a different mindset, not like a regular civilian mindset. So I understand, why Jones does the stuff he does. And, also, Jones gets a lot of hate, but let's show him some love, let's show him some love. So Jon Jones also, let's talk about that darkness for a second. Jon Jones at one point, he tweeted that he was like assaulted as a kid, like sexually assaulted as a kid. Now he deleted that tweet, but he did tweet that. And that's one of the reasons why I think that's the thing that fuels him to be great. So we see him and he's like drunk and he's crashing into people. But at the end of the day, I think he's just a tormented guy who maybe was sexually assaulted as a kid. And he uses that as fuel. And when he's drinking and stuff like that, he's drinking and doing a lot of crazy shit. But at the end of the day, he's just a dude trying to cope with life. And the only way he can cope with life is winning the belts and being a great fighter. So for me, I don't judge him as much. Makes sense. Probably why he was self-medicating. Exactly. So, these guys are just humans just like us. They're just regular dudes. So Jones gets a lot of hate, but he gave us great moments in the sport. And if he was sexually assaulted, which he said he was, in a tweet, he deleted it, and he was able to become a champion. Maybe he took steroids. Well, he did potentially take steroids, but all these dudes are on steroids. Let's be honest. Let's be real. When I remember I used to have fights with my coach when I lived in Missouri. I was like, no, everybody's not on steroids. You're just hating. It's not true, right? I didn't want to believe it. I didn't want to believe that Jon Jones was on steroids. Let's take a look at a picture of peak Jon Jones, by the way. Let's look at a picture of Jon Jones. Jon Jones, swole, right? Let's see if it comes up. Peak Jon Jones. Let me see if it comes up. So I used to have arguments with my coach, and I was like, nah, not everybody's not on steroids. You're crazy. You're just a hater. You're just jealous, blah, blah, blah. And he's like, okay, you'll see. And now everybody isn't on steroids. Look at this. Look at this. Bro was looking extremely juicy at this point. Everybody isn't on steroids, but when I came to California and I was sparring with dude, I know what it feels like when someone's on steroids. I'm strong as fuck naturally. Bro, I'm strong as shit. And when I go with someone who's on steroids, there's a very specific feeling that they have. When you do jiu-jitsu, because in jiu-jitsu, steroids is a big issue. When you do jiu-jitsu with someone who's on steroids, there's a very specific feeling their body has. So me and my coach were fighting, and I was like, damn, a lot of guys are on steroids. So when we talk about Jones being on steroids, yeah, but a lot of guys were on steroids. Like he fought Vitor Belfort, who was clearly on steroids, and he whooped his ass. So let's go back into the mindset. Let's go back into the mindset that caused Jon Jones to be great. And this is a mindset that you see with most champions. Is he going in the Hall of Fame? Yeah, he's already in the Hall of Fame for his fight against Alexander Gustafsson. But do you guys think he's had a complete career? Bro's been fighting 15 years. You know what, as well? In the MMA, a lot of people just want to see you get knocked out. They want to see you go down bad because that's just what we've seen with fighters, right? But if he's been fighting for 15 years, he's been champion since he was a kid, since he was like 23 years old. sometimes you evolve in life, right? Sometimes it's time to move on to the next thing. His body's banged up. Sometimes you just got to evolve in life. And he really didn't have many fights either. So I think it's a complete career. What do you think? What do you think? Hit that like button as well. You know, and I don't think if he retires, the only reason he should come back is to fight Francis Ngannou. That's the only fight that makes sense. Don't know enough to say. So we'll go through his career a little bit more right now. Let me see. So Khabib's dad also said that Jon Jones, let's see, Jon Jones record. Khabib's dad said Jon Jones is like God gifted or something like that. So this is Jon Jones' record. His run in the sport. 16 wins in title fights in UFC, which is unheard of. No one's ever done that. Youngest UFC champion of all time, 23. 20 fight unbeaten streak. It's actually 21 fight unbeaten streak. 2 division UFC champion. 22 career wins in the UFC. It's actually 23 career wins in UFC. Never been knocked down in his MMA career. Never been knocked out in his MMA career. You know, and then this right here, oh yeah, people are making, look at this. People are making these, it said www fear, lost to Tom Aspinall, fear. No fighter is scared to fight anybody. He was dominated. He was dominant when he thought he didn't fight as often. Still a respectable career. You know, like, no fighter is scared to fight anybody. Like, come on, guys. You know, like, people just don't understand the mindset of a fighter. Like, if they're like, hey, Manny, we want you to fight Alex Pereira tomorrow. I'll be, yeah, fuck yeah, I'll fight Alex Pereira, but you better come with the fucking money. You know what I'm saying? If I'm going to fight Alex Pereira and it's a dangerous fight, you better come with the money. But any fighter will fight anybody for the most part. We're not scared to fight. And even if you are scared to fight, you're still going to make the walk. That's the thing about fighters. Fighters are fueled off of the fear. So it's always funny with me when people say, oh, he's scared. I don't think it's good for him. People, let me see. I don't think it's good for him. The people and the masses really want the Aspinall fight. I see a lot of backlash. Yeah, they want the Aspinall fight, but at a certain point, it's at a certain point, I'm a lover, not a fighter. Nah, PG, I seen your hands. You got a nasty right hand. You definitely have knocked some people out in your day. The thing is, at a certain point, people are going to say what they're going to say. He's given enough to the sport. And maybe I'm a Jon Jones stan. Maybe I'm wrong. But at a certain point, he's given enough to the sport. And I think it's like time to where you can evolve and do something else. You know, because we know too many fighters go out of this sport bad, you know, knocked out, pieced up, you know, never the same. You know, we've seen it time and time again. So I like to see the story of someone going out on top. But let's go back to this roundabout. This is a damn good book. Especially if you're a competitor. And even if you're not a competitor, let's say you're a YouTuber like PG, right? PG is about to be the top gaming streamer in the world. There's a lot of things that we can learn from these guys' fight careers, you know? Let me see here. Let's find a good spot. Here we go. This is what I'm talking about. This is perfect. The mindset of a champion. Here we go. Where the fuck is it? I just had it. Damn. 1 second, guys. This is a damn good book, by the way. Ronda Rousey, Your Fight is My Fight. Let me see here. Refuse to accept any other reality. So yeah, here we go. This is a good one as well. This one's called I Love Your Positivity, Brother, my man. This one's called Refuse to Accept Any Other Reality. Now, there's a two-edged sword with everything. Like, you have fighters who are completely delusional. Absolutely delusional. And it works for them. Like Conor McGregor back in the day, he was pretty delusional. Let's be real. But it worked for him. But now it doesn't work for him. You know what I'm saying? So refuse to accept any other reality. For a long time, people shot down my goal as impossible. But I knew it was only because I hadn't given them a reason to agree with me yet. They did not know what I was capable of. So that feeling of people underestimating you, doubting you, that shit fuels great fighters. You need that shit. And for myself, at one point, I forgot that. You know what I'm saying? And now I'm going back to that. Actually, I'm going to work out after this and be like, you know what? I got to prove something to myself. I got to prove something to really myself, because it doesn't matter what other people think. But this shit is the shit that fuels great fighters. Here we go. No one outside of my camp knew it, but I was having issues with my elbows during the lead up of the Kaufman fight. I had been sparring one day and left my elbow hyperextended. I've never tapped in an arm bar in judo competition, and I had long ago lost track of how many times my elbows has been dislocated. So imagine that. She's training so hard and her ego is so big that in training, she's not going to tap to an arm bar. And she's literally just breaking her elbows all the time. This is Ronda Rousey for the new people. Hit that like button. And she's breaking her elbows all the time, dislocating her elbows. She does not give a fuck. She's like, I'm the best. This is what it is. I don't care. Her ego is fucking huge. So these are super toxic traits, but it creates great fighters. Let's see. The recurrent joint trauma had loosened my ligaments on both arms. I just need to pop it back in, I thought. But the pain persisted. I can win this fight with one fucking arm, I told myself. So the arrogance of that. Imagine you're like, I'm so good, I can win this fight with one arm. I don't need a fucking multiple limbs to whoop someone's ass. And that's what we see with Jamal Hill. Jamal Hill, you know, he's talking about Khalil Roundtree like he like Khalil Rountree's some bum, but that shit backfired on him. And now he's on like a 3 or 4 fight losing streak. There's a time and place where, as a fighter, you need to be arrogant, and there's a time and place where you need to be smart. And that's one thing, when we go back to Jon Jones, I think he's being very smart and calculated. This is the best move that he can make. Because Jones isn't a coward. You know what I'm saying? He's fought everybody under the sun. You can't call him a coward. You know, let me see. Why are you gay? Why are you gay? Well, you tell me. You tell me. You're the fruitcake who's on here probably lotioned up, baby oiled up, watching me talk about the fights. You know what I'm saying? So you tell me, big boy, be fatty. But let's get back to it. So yeah, there's a certain mindset you need to have as a champion. And I really stand by that. I really stand by that. You know, so let's see what else is going on in the MMA world. So Jon Jones, hell of a career. You know, this is the next thing, right? I think this fight is going to be really, really sad for some people. When Dominic Reyes fights, what's his name? Jamal Hill. Let me see. Let's see what Dominic Reyes has been doing. And speaking of Dominic Reyes, when we look back on Jones' career, everybody's going to talk about the Reyes fight. Handle this fool, man. Yeah, exactly. Be fatty. I'd put him in a chokehold real quick. Put him in a guillotine choke real quick. But when everything's said and done, everyone's going to look back on Jon Jones' career and say, oh, the Reyes fight. You know, he lost that fight. And it's like, but he won the fight, you know? So I don't know. When Reyes fights Jamal Hill, look at this. This is a perfect graphic. 0-4, 2020 to 2022. 2024 to 2025, 3-0. That's why I love MMA right there. That's incredible to me. To Reyes to go, and he didn't just lose, he got knocked the fuck out 4 times in a row. That's devastating shit. Bro got knocked the fuck out. So for you guys who never fought before or never competed before, To lose one time is devastating. Now imagine losing 4 times and getting knocked out in a row and saying you're going to try again the 5th time. And then boom, you get a win. And now he's on a 3-fight win streak. So now Jamal Hill, that's the fight to make. Jamal Hill versus Reyes. That's the only fight that makes sense at this stage for Jamal Hill. So now Reyes is coming up and he has the confidence and the mindset of being a champion and going through these losses and being free because he's been knocked the fuck out multiple times. And now he's on a win streak. And now he's in a position where if he wins once or twice, he's going to be a champion. Or he's going to fight for the belt. You know? So now we have Jamal Hill, who's on a 3 or 4 fight losing streak, a former champion. And if he fights Reyes and he loses, bro, that's going to be really sad. Especially if he gets knocked out, that's gonna be really fucking sad. And that's the thing about this sport. That's what's so exciting about this sport is the thrill and the agony, right? Like it's the highest highs and the lowest lows in this sport. And that's why I love this fucking sport. There's nothing like it. It's like a male soap opera. It's really like a male soap opera. The fucking drama, all the shit. Let me see. What Reyes say here? This, actually, matter of fact, I love this. This is perfect. When Israel Adesanya fought Alex Pereira, post-fight speech. When he fought Alex Pereira, and you know Alex Pereira whipped his ass multiple times, for the people who don't know the sport. This right here was, to me, I ran 5 miles after listening to this. So before I even pull it up, I'm going to give you guys the backstory. When Israel Adesanya fought Alex Pereira knocked him out in kickboxing, knocked him out in the UFC. I believe they fought 3 times. And I think he won a decision or something in kickboxing. I could be wrong on that. But Alex Pereira, he kept losing to him. And he knocked him out in the UFC. And Alex Pereira is obviously a very ominous fighter, a very dangerous fighter. And then he fights him that last time, and he tricks him. He gets him in a trap and knocks him out. And this right here is the reason we love the sport. It gives me goosebumps every fucking time. I'm about to go run fucking 5 miles right now. That shit fires me up. And Israel Adesanya is on a losing streak right now as well. He's on a 3-fight losing streak. But that's what this sport's about. And one of the things I always say this sport kind of molded my whole life because so many lessons are learned through the fight game. When Israel, the biggest thing that I see with Jamal Hill, the reason that he's losing right now is because he's not evolving his game. He's fighting the same way, and he doesn't have crazy good striking. He's a good fighter, don't get me wrong, but his striking isn't as refined as someone like the champ, Ankalaev. You know? So it's like, if he keeps fighting high-level strikers, he's going to lose. You know what I'm saying? And he hasn't really evolved his game. He hasn't all right, let me go and switch it up, go for a takedown. You know? Like, there's so many different ways that he could, watch this clip right here. Let's just watch this clip and break it down. Let me see. That got me hyped to PK for 24 hours straight. Yeah. Hey, you would be surprised, PG. There's a lot of people who PK 24 hours straight, no showers. Bro, no showers. I know you know what's his name? His name is Amson Gold. Bro, this dude does not shower. Apparently he used to play World of Warcraft and he didn't shower for a fucking month grinding on the game, bro. Disgusting. But look at this clip right here. You know, I'm gonna slow it down so you guys can see and we can really break it down. So Jamal throws a punch, really no feint, right? And he's used this a million times. He's used this setup a million times, and then boom, he goes to try to throw a big right hand. Khalil just sees that because he knows if he's doing this, the only other punch is gonna come is this. Because bro doesn't throw any kicks or elbows or knees or anything like that. So he knows that's what's going to come after. So all he does is just lean out the way, and then he comes back with Boom! He comes back with a crazy right hand. Is that a right hand? I think it might be a left hand. Anyways, he comes back with a crazy counter. Bop! That's striking 101. And Jamal Hill, he just hasn't really refined his striking game like that, you know? Boom, he gets dropped. He bounces back up. Jamal Hill's tough. He's tough as fuck, for sure. But until he evolves his game, he's going to continue to suffer these losses. And that's one thing that we all should take in our own day-to-day lives, because let's say PG, for example. PG is a YouTuber, right? Great gamer. Maybe he's like, you know what? I want to hit 1 million live concurrent streamers, right? 1 million streamers concurrently. That would be insane. Could you imagine if you had 1 million streamers? Bro, that'd be crazy. But in order to get there, what do we have to change to grow? And that's why I love fighting, because it's just such a good allegory for life. And it's such a brutal allegory, because if you don't change in fighting, you're gonna get knocked the fuck out brutally, you know, bad. You're gonna get embarrassed in front of everybody, you know. And that's what we're seeing with Jamal. So until Jamal changes these things, it's gonna be tough. And one thing we all have to acknowledge with Jones, is his era of light heavyweight fighters. The new current era, Alex Pereira is incredible. Ankalaev is really good, but it's not as exciting as it was. You know? So I'm very curious to see the new era of fighters in general and see who's going to be the next Jon Jones. Can there ever be another Jon Jones? You know, there's been so many good fighters throughout the years. But I'm going to read another chapter for you guys. And this one is, I'd rather expose myself willingly than wait in fear for it to happen against my will. And that kind of summarizes Jon Jones. He's like, if he's gonna lose, he's gonna do it to himself. He's just gonna retire. You know, you're not gonna beat him in the cage. He's not gonna allow you to get his career. He's like, nah, I'm gonna retire. And that's the mindset of a champion. That's why you see Ronda Rousey get knocked out and then she just like quits, crashes out. I've been asked if I have no fear. The truth is, I fear a lot of things. So when fighters say, or when people say, oh, he's scared, blah, 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 he's scared. Like, bro, these people are human. Anybody can be scared, but it doesn't matter if you're scared. Like, if you're going to go to war, I guarantee you're going to be scared. But you're going to pick up that pew-pew, the YouTube algorithm, you'll pick up that pew-pew, and you're going to fucking go to war. If you're a Viking and people are trying to encroach on your turf, you're going to be scared, right? But you grab your balls and you go to war. And that's what it's about. Same thing when you go to that cage. So all these fighters are scared when they go to the cage. It's just about if you're man enough to walk to that cage or not. And now some people are going to say, oh, Jon Jones wasn't man enough, blah, blah, blah. He wasn't man enough. Meanwhile, bro had an incredible career. Where the fuck was I? All right, here we go. The truth is, I fear a lot of things. I just don't let fear control me. Very powerful right there. I use it to motivate me. That's what champions do. I love that. I control things that scare me head on. I confront things that scare me head on. Because fear is nothing more than a feeling. The girls I'm facing in the cage, they can hurt me. Fear can actually hurt me. Acting without fear is called recklessness. Acting with fear is called courage. That's powerful. That's real powerful. And you know, some people will say, oh, well, Jon Jones doesn't have courage. He wouldn't fight Tom Aspinall. I mean, regardless, Jon Jones had an incredible career and he should be respected by all. And let's see what Tom Aspinall does now. Let's see Tom Aspinall versus Ciryl Gane. Because I'm not convinced, I'm going to say it, I'm not convinced Tom Aspinall is going to beat Ciryl Gane. But time will tell. I appreciate you guys. Much love. Learn to fight.